I'm Bonnet and I'm a PhD student from the University of Bradford and in partnership with Historic Environment Scotland as well. And I'm here to talk about how my PhD fits into the wider context of climate change as well as COP26. So the project is investigating the loss of archaeological heritage to coastal erosion through multidisciplinary 3D digital documentation and to develop a new recording framework for fragile coastal archaeology. The aims of the project are to investigate the risk of archaeological heritage from coastal erosion in Orkney. And the significance of this is to understand coastal change. We can use 3D digital documentation, which I'll talk about later in the presentation, for monitoring, management, aiding in conservation and education of vulnerable archaeological sites which are situated on the coast. As climate change is increasing, the dramatic effects what's having on our coastal fringe, historic harbours, and our cultural heritage is immense. It's, we're seeing coastal erosion, we're seeing destruction of sites. So through 3D digital documentation, we're able to understand coastal change, we're able to understand coastal erosion, and then predict as well future erosion processes. And then we can improve sustainable tourism. So Orkney in particular is their economy is based on tourism. It brings thousands of tourists each year due to the archaeology, the archaeological wealth which are on these islands. And then this feeds into Scotland's climate policies and COP26. So this project is all about reacting and adapting using digital techniques to aid in understanding coastal change, coastal erosion. And then this also informs on climate change as well, to educate using 3D models as a education purpose for archaeology as well as climate change. So to the right is a cluster of islands, which is Orkney. So Orkney is separated from north of Scotland and by the Pentland Firth, and Orkney is a cluster of islands. So the case studies I'm looking at are all archaeology sites which are on the coastline, situated on Rousey, Aynhallow, mainland Scotland, mainland Orkney, sorry, and Bursey. So climate change, we hear about climate change every day, we're seeing it every day, we're experiencing it, but what are we actually seeing? What's our cultural heritage seeing? So we're seeing severe coastal erosion, we're seeing temperature rise, flooding, sea level rise and storm surges, and this is threatening our cultural heritage. This is a daily erosion, storm events, attrition effects, completely destroying a lot of these cultural heritage sites. As you can see to the right, there's two images. One at the top is from storm surges and the brutal forces of the sea onto the island. So you can see this is, happening quite daily. So through time, this is eroding the landscape, as well as cultural heritage sites. And below is the site, the now Swandro. So this is a University of Bradford led dig and one of my case studies. And this is an Iron Age settlement which has been eroded by the sea, and quite dramatically being eroded. We're seeing archaeology being ripped away. We're seeing beach material within stratigraphic layers, which again I'll talk about later on. But as you can see, it's being flooded at the bottom. So this is, each year we're trying to protect this site, but climate change and the forces of the sea is too brutal for protecting the site. So using 3D digital documentation allows us to monitor and manage, and through the 3D models we're able to aid in conservation as well. So this is how we're battling it. So using digital documentation techniques, and then what's next? So it's adapt and react, like COP26 and climate policies. Climate policies globally is all about adapting and reacting. So through 3D digital documentation and developing and changing methodologies, as techniques are not static, they're always moving. So we need to always change and improve techniques along with it, and there's no going back. We're losing all our cultural heritage, so adapting and reacting now will help in the future. So coastal erosion, so just a little bit here. So this is the now Swandro again. As you can see, the one of the structures is in the picture, and you can just see the sea is very, very close. So what we're seeing erosion wise, well, we're seeing, especially at the now Swandro, we're seeing removal of sediments, removal of structures, attrition effects on stones, beach material. We're actually excavating at the lower layers of stratigraphy. We're actually seeing beach material, we're seeing plastic. So that's showing these forces of the seas just getting into the archaeology. And through this, it's destroying many archaeology sites, not just in our Swandro, but this is happening across Orkney, across the globe as well. And through the destruction, we're seeing the loss of archaeological knowledge. It's ripping these sediments, these key facts, which as archaeologists we need to understand the past. And then through this, it's the loss of identity, the local identity, as well as our cultural heritage, our ancestors' identity. So through using 3D digital documentation, we're able to manage, monitor, and aid in conservation. And then as well as that, we can use these as possible predictions, predicting key areas on a site which need excavating. So there's many advantages of using digital documentation. These are just quickly some of the case studies I'm looking at. So we've got a few different sites. So we've got Hallow and Brock of Bursey. So as you can see, the islands are eroded. You can see this just with the naked eye. Both islands home historic environment sites, which are properties in care. And so these are cliff face erosions. So we've got Hallow and Bursey. And then on Rousey, we've got Midhow Cairn and Midhow Broch. So these sites are both properties in care by Hess again. And as you can see on Midhow Cairn, you can see how close it is to the short cliff face erosion. And then along this, so this coastline, sorry, on Rousey, it's called the West Ness coastline. So it homes Midhow Cairn, Midhow Broch, South Howe and the North Swandro. So South Howe is again an Iron Age site, and it's having cliff face erosion. You can just see there. And again, University of Bradford excavated this. And just a little bit along from South Howe, we've got the North Swandro, so the Noah Swandro, sorry. And this is completely different. This is a low-lying erosion process. And as you can see, we've got the site top left, and then we've tried to make a barrier through excavation. So we go back each year. Obviously with COVID, this has not been able to happen for 2 years now. And we try excavate as much as we can before the sea takes it. And then we've got Gurness, which is a property in care again. And again, similar to Midhow Broch and Cairn, it's having cliff face erosion at the bottom. So these case studies are all bringing, they bring tourists each year. They're visited a lot. So this is why we need to, have 3D digital record of these sites. And they all have, we've got cliff face erosion, we've got low-lying erosion. So we've got different processes of erosion. So some will be quick, some will be slow. So we have to take this into consideration whilst having a methodology for documenting these sites. So a little bit about 3D recording at the Noah Swandro. As I've mentioned, it's on the West Ness coastline on Rousey. So we do go back each year and we record these. So we're using terrestrial laser scanning, structure from motion photogrammetry and UAV. So we're using integrated methodology to document as much as we can of the site, as it's quite an extensive site. As you can see to the right, it's a very extensive site, and having many different techniques. So they all, we've got terrestrial laser scanning, which documents line of sight, and then we've got photogrammetry, which gives texture, but I'll talk about these later on. So we're using these 3D recording at the Nav Swandro. Before the site is lost, we know that this site is going to be lost. You can briefly see at the bottom on the picture on the right, the sea is just there, and then, when it's harsh storm surges, the sea is washing over the site. So we're well aware that the site will be lost. So it's again a race against the tide. And to the left, this is just one of the output of the what terrestrial laser scanning can do. So we've got a 3D model. When we're excavating, it is a quick process. So we're trying to have a written and a digital recording system, but then we're able to process the data and actually investigate and analyze the site in detail, structural wise, to see the attrition effects, daily effects, storm effects. And then we can also use this to prioritize areas. So we can see an area which may be having a lot of erosion processes, so we can go the next year and excavate and prioritize that area as well. So adapt and react. So again, adapt and reacting. Well, it's our cultural heritage. These sites have been left to us by our ancestors, so it's up to us to look after them. And then again, it's our lost knowledge. If we just leave these sites to decay and deteriorate, then we're losing a part of the past. And it's our legacy to do this. It's for our future generations. It's not just a national identity, it's many locals' identity, especially Orcadians are so in touch with their identity. That's their historic landscape which they're living in, and once it's gone, there's no going back. So through 3D digital techniques, we're able to monitor, manage and aid in conservation, as well as for education purposes. So I've been talking about digital techniques, so here is some of the digital techniques which will be used in the project. So we've got terrestrial laser scanning, structure from motion photogrammetry, and UAV, which is unmanned aerial vehicle. And to the left, we've got some images of these as well. So in detail, we've got terrestrial laser scanning. So it's a portable instrument. As you can see to the right, the instrument is mounted onto a set of tripod legs. It's a high-tech piece of equipment and it works in a line of sight. So we need a lot of overlapping scans to create a reliable and accurate 3D model. And it collects billions of points and colour value, and we're able to then process these scans and then investigate and analyse later on. Then we've got structure from motion photogrammetry. So again, a portable camera, it's cost effective. Again, it's overlapping images of many 2D images, and then we can process this fairly quick processing system into a 3D model. And this is really good for texture, especially good for coastal erosion, especially at the now Swandro. This is what we use to actually analyse texture to see subtle changes in the archaeology. Then we've got UAV. It's a compact and light nature instrument. We've got a picture to the right. Cost effective, and again, it's overlapping images and also takes videos. So we can take many 2D images and then create a 3D model out of them. And it gets an aerial view. So this is really it's a big advantage for especially the West Ness coastline, extensive coastline, and we're able to document the whole coastline in maybe a few days, depending on battery life of the instrument. So it is good for analysing big extensive areas, especially the coastline in high tide and low tide, so we can compare and then use these as predictions. The outcomes of the project is to improve digital methodologies for analysing effects of coastal erosion. As I said, techniques are never static. We always have to improve techniques, skills, especially when climate change is increasing. To understand and increase awareness of vulnerable cultural heritage sites in Orkney using the 3D data. To create sustainable tourism, virtual tourism, increase public engagement and informing the public on what's happening to local heritage. And then this feeds into strengthening Scotland's National Record of Historic Environment, Scotland, record of the historic environment, sorry. So these are the main outcomes of the project. So that was quickly what the PhD project is what I'm looking at. So thank you for listening, and here are my contact details if you need to find any more information. Thank you very much.